Assalamu alaikum. In this video, we will cover the topic of macrocytic megaloblastic anemia. The word cyte is used for the mature cells and the word blast is used for immature cells. So the word macrocyte means that the mature cells which are present in the peripheral blood are larger in size as compared to normal. And the word megaloblast means that the immature cells, for example, proerythroblasts or erythroblasts which are present in the bone marrow are larger than the normal size. And the word anemia means decrease in the total red cell mass. So the word macrocytic megaloblastic anemia means that there is decrease in the total number of red blood cells, and the cells which are present in the peripheral blood are larger than the normal, as well as the cells which are present in the bone marrow are larger than normal. So the disease is called macrocytic megaloblastic anemia. This disease, macrocytic megaloblastic anemia, is actually a misnomer because in the name of the disease, the word anemia is used. However, in this disease, there is not only reduction in the number of red cell mass, but there is also decreased in the total number of leukocytes as well as platelets. So, basically, it is a condition in which there is pancytopenia, that is decrease in the number of red blood cells as well as white blood cells and platelets. However, in the name of the disease, the word anemia is used, so it is a misnomer. Now, as the word macrocyte is used here, it means that the red blood cells are larger than normal in such a way that they have abnormal mean corpuscular volume. Normally, we know that in case of normal red blood cells, the mean corpuscular volume ranges from 80 femtoliters to 100 femtoliters. But in case of macrocytes, the mean corpuscular volume is greater than 100 femtoliters. Okay, now here this is the bone marrow house, and in the bone marrow house we have the pluripotent stem cell. Pluripotent stem cell divides into two types. We have the lymphoid stem cell and the myeloid stem cell. The lymphoid stem cell is responsible for the formation of lymphocytes, and the myeloid stem cell is responsible for the formation of red blood cells, platelets, and other white blood cells other than the lymphocytes. Now, for the formation of red blood cell, the myeloid stem cell has to pass through different stages, and eventually it results in the formation of mature red blood cells. Here we can see various stages. First of all, we have the proerythroblast, then we have erythroblast, then we have reticulocytes, and eventually it results in the formation of mature red blood cells. When we have the proerythroblast stage in the formation of red blood cells, then we have very immature nucleus. The nucleus is opened, and a lot of messenger RNA is present in the cytoplasm of the red blood cells. So the cytoplasm is basophilic. Eventually, when we move towards the mature cell, then there is condensation of the nucleus, as well as the amount of messenger RNA which is present in the cytoplasm decreases, and it is translated. Messenger RNA is translated into proteins. So the protein, which is basically the hemoglobin concentration start increasing in the cytoplasm. Here we can see that there is condensation of the nucleus, and the amount of hemoglobin present in the cytoplasm increases, and the basophilic material decreases. Eventually, the condensation of the nucleus increases and it is lost, and we have the mature red blood cell which is containing the hemoglobin, and there is no nucleus in the mature red blood cell. Now, for the maturation of the red blood cells, we need vitamin B12 and folic acid. Basically, vitamin B12 and folic acid are required for the replication of DNA, that is, they are required for the maturation of the nucleus. So, if there is deficiency of vitamin B12 or folic acid, then the maturation of the nucleus cannot take place. However, transcription can take place, because for transcription we do not need vitamin B12 and folic acid. Normally, when there is formation of red blood cells, then it takes place in such a way that there is synchronization between the maturation of the nucleus and the maturation of the cytoplasm. When there is deficiency of vitamin B12 and folic acid, then the maturation of the nucleus cannot take place. However, there is hypermaturation of the cytoplasm, because there is increased transcription and there is increase in the formation of messenger RNA and hemoglobin. Here we can see that this is red blood cell in which there is deficiency of vitamin B12 and folic acid. We can see that there is immature nucleus and there is hypermature cytoplasm in such a way that there is increase in the concentration of hemoglobin in the cytoplasm. So it is basically a megaloblast. It is slightly increased in size, and eventually it results in the formation of macrocytes, which are large size red blood cells in the peripheral blood. There are many drugs which can cause there are many drugs which can cause inhibition of replication of the DNA, and eventually these drugs also result in megaloblastic macrocytic anemia. Now, as we have discussed earlier, that this macrocytic megaloblastic anemia is a misnomer, and not only there is anemia, but also there is decrease in the total number of white blood cells. There is also leukopenia. In addition to leukopenia, the white blood cells, there is also some change in the shape of the white blood cells in such a way that the nucleus become hyper segmented. We have hexalobulated nucleus of the WBCs. Whenever we see such WBCs in the peripheral blood, that we can assume that it is a condition of macrocytic megaloblastic anemia. Also, there is thrombocytopenia, and there is pancytopenia in the blood. Whenever there is deficiency of vitamin B12 or folic acid, then it is not only the bone marrow cells which suffer, but all the cells which are rapidly proliferating suffer. For example, the rapidly proliferating cells which are present in our gastrointestinal tract become abnormal in such a way that they become larger in size and they become less in number. Similarly, the cells which are present on the surface of the tongue, which are rapidly proliferating, they are also affected in such a way that there is decrease in the number of cells in the papilla of the tongue. So the tongue become very smooth, and it becomes we can say that it is a glossy tongue and beefy tongue. Now, how the vitamin B12 and folic acid are absorbed from the stomach into the blood, from the gastrointestinal tract into our blood. Vitamin B12 is also known as cobalamin. The ultimate source of vitamin B12 or cobalamin in our diet is in the food chain is from the bacteria. It is present in animal products. The daily requirement of vitamin B12 is 2 to 3 microgram per day. When we take cobalamin or vitamin B12, then mostly it is bounded to animal proteins. Here we can say that this is vitamin B12 or cobalamin, and this is the animal protein, and it is bounded to the animal protein. Now we take this cobalamin or vitamin B12 in our food, then it comes to our stomach. In the stomach, this animal protein which is bounded to the cobalamin or vitamin B12 is digested away from the by pepsin. Pepsin is being secreted from chief cells which are present in the gastric glands, and this pepsin is responsible for digestion of this animal protein, and in this way this cobalamin or vitamin B12 is set free. Now this vitamin B12 is free, and here it binds with the help of it binds with specialized protein called R binder protein. This R binder protein is coming from the saliva. This is the R binder protein which is coming from the saliva. It comes to the stomach, and here when this animal protein is digested and vitamin B12 is set free, then this R binder protein binds itself with the B12. After binding with R binder protein, this vitamin B12 is carried to the duodenum or the small intestine. Here there is a specialized enzyme called protease, and this protease is released from the pancreas. This protease is responsible for the digestion of this R binder protein, and this vitamin B12 is again set free. Here this vitamin B12 binds with the intrinsic factor. Intrinsic factor is coming from the stomach, from the parietal cells. Intrinsic factor is released along with the HCl. This intrinsic factor then comes to the duodenum, and in the duodenum, after the digestion of this R binder protein by protease, this intrinsic factor binds with this vitamin B12. Here we can see that this is the pancreas, and pancreas is releasing proteases. These proteases are responsible for the digestion of the R binder proteins, and intrinsic factor binds with vitamin B12. Now after binding with intrinsic factor, vitamin B12 is taken to the ileum. This is the ileum. The cells in the ileum have specialized receptors which are responsible for binding with this intrinsic factor. So intrinsic factor along with vitamin B12 bind with these specialized receptors, and in this way vitamin B12 and intrinsic factor are taken into the cells of the ileum. After entering into the cells, this intrinsic factor get digested, and again vitamin B12 is set free. Now inside the cells of the ileum, this vitamin B12 binds with a specialized protein called transcobalamin 2. And with the help of this transcobalamin 2, vitamin B12 is absorbed into the blood. It enters into the blood, and from the blood it goes to the liver and it is stored in the liver. Vitamin B12 can be stored in the liver for 3 to 5 years. So we can say that whenever there is deficiency of vitamin B12 in the diet, then in the blood vitamin B12 deficiency does not take place transiently, but it takes some time, because we have enough stores of vitamin B12 in our liver for 3 to 5 years. Now we have discussed that how vitamin B12 enters of liver from the diet. Now what about folic acid? Folic acid is basically present in green leafy vegetables and citrus fruits. However, it is destroyed when we cook the green leafy vegetables. Folic acid is required during the early development of the fetus. Therefore, every woman who is present in the reproductive years should have high levels of folic acid in the blood. Folic acid is required during gestation period for the closure of the anterior and posterior neuropores. Anterior neuropore is normally closed during the 25th day of gestation, and the posterior neuropore is closed on 27th day. If the anterior neuropore is not closed, then it can result in anencephaly, and if the posterior neuropore is not closed, then it can result in spina bifida. So all the women who are present in their reproductive year should have high levels of folic acid in their blood. The daily requirement of folic acid is 50 to 100 microgram per day. Now when we take folic acid in our diet from the green leafy vegetables or citrus fruits, then normally the folic acid is bound to the glutamate residues and these glutamate residues are actually polyglutamate residues. When we take folic acid, then it is taken to the stomach, and from the stomach it goes to the jejunum. In the jejunum we have an enzyme which is known as conjugase. This conjugase enzyme is responsible for the digestion of these polyglutamate residues and convert these polyglutamate residues into the monoglutamates or diglutamates. Actually, when folic acid is bounded to these polyglutamate residues, then it is a polar molecule and it cannot be absorbed from the jejunum into the cells of the jejunum. Therefore, these conjugase enzymes digest away these polyglutamate residues and convert them into monoglutamates or diglutamates, so that the folic acid molecule is converted into the non-polar form. And this non-polar form can easily be absorbed into the cells of the jejunum. When folic acid enters into the cells of the jejunum, then it is converted into tetrahydrofolate and it is also methylated. So now in the cells of the jejunum we have methylated form of the tetrahydrofolate. This methylated tetrahydrofolate then goes to the blood, and from the blood it is stored in the liver for about 2 to 3 months. This is the methyl tetrahydrofolate. Now the question is that how the vitamin B12 and folic acid deficiency leads to megaloblastic anemia. This is a cell. It can be any cell. It may be some erythromyeloid stem cell or some cell of the gastrointestinal tract, any rapidly proliferating cell. Whenever any cell has to proliferate and it is ready for proliferation, then specialized receptors appear on the surface of this cell. These specialized receptors are for methylated form of tetrahydrofolate as well as for transcobalamin 2. The methylated form of tetrahydrofolate as well as transcobalamin 2 are absorbed with the help of these receptors into the cell. And here we can say that methylated form of tetrahydrofolate and transcobalamin have entered into the cell. Now this methylated form of tetrahydrofolate and this cobalamin are acted upon by an enzyme called methyltransferase. This methyltransferase enzyme is responsible for the transfer of this methyl group from the tetrahydrofolate to the vitamin B12. In this way, this methylated form of tetrahydrofolate is converted into tetrahydrofolate, and at the same time, previously this tetrahydrofolate was monoglutamate. It is converted into the polyglutamate form, that is, it is converted into polar form so that it does not leave the cell. It cannot escape. Now it cannot escape from the cell. And the vitamin B12 or cobalamin is converted into methylcobalamin. Now what happens to this tetrahydrofolate? This tetrahydrofolate is then acted upon by serine, and this serine is responsible for the transfer of a methylene group, CH2 methylene group, to this tetrahydrofolate. So this tetrahydrofolate is converted into methylene tetrahydrofolate, and this serine is converted to glycine. Now this methylene tetrahydrofolate reacts with deoxyuridine monophosphate under the action of an enzyme thymidylate synthetase, and it is converted into this deoxyuridine monophosphate is converted into deoxythymidine monophosphate. Now here we can see that this tetrahydrofolate molecule has resulted in conversion of deoxyuridine monophosphate Okay, now here we can see that this tetrahydrofolate molecule has resulted in conversion of this deoxyuridine monophosphate into deoxythymidine monophosphate. If we have deficiency of if we have deficiency of this folic acid, or if we have deficiency of vitamin B12, then this tetrahydrofolate molecule cannot be formed here. Because if we have deficiency of vitamin B12, then this methylated tetrahydrofolate cannot be converted into tetrahydrofolate, and if we have deficiency of folic acid, then also we cannot have this tetrahydrofolate molecule. So we do not have any formation of the deoxyuridine monophosphate into the deoxythymidine monophosphate, and we know that thymine is responsible for the replication of DNA. So in case of deficiency of folic acid, or in case of deficiency of vitamin B12, we do not have thymine and we do not have replication of DNA. So the maturation of nucleus cannot take place. However, we have supply of uridine. Uridine monophosphate is present, so uracil is present. So transcription can occur, but replication cannot occur. So in case of vitamin B12 or folic acid deficiency, there is no maturation of the nucleus. However, cytoplasmic maturation takes place, and it results in macrocytic megaloblastic anemia. Now, as here we have said that methylene tetrahydrofolate has converted into dihydrofolate. This dihydrofolate is acted upon by another enzyme called dihydrofolate reductase, and it is converted again into tetrahydrofolate. Now what happens to this methylcobalamin? This methylcobalamin combines with homocysteine under the action of an enzyme methyltransferase, and this homocysteine, after getting methyl group from this methylcobalamin, is converted into methionine, and this methylcobalamin is again converted into cobalamin. In this way we have the supply of methionine under the action of vitamin B12. If we do not have vitamin B12, or we have vitamin B12 deficiency, then homocysteine cannot be converted into methionine, and this methionine is actually required for the normal it is required for the normal functioning of central nervous system, because it is responsible for the myelination of the neurons. No, now whenever any patient has deficiency of vitamin B12, then we can develop serious neurological dysfunctions. But the patients with deficiency of folic acid will not develop neurological deficits unless the folic acid deficiency is present in perinatal period. Now we will discuss that how vitamin B12 deficiency can result in neurological defects. In the neuronal cells, or in the myelination of the neurons, specialized substances are required. For example, we have propionyl coenzyme A. This propionyl coenzyme A is converted into malonyl coenzyme A, and malonyl coenzyme A is converted into succinyl coenzyme A. For the conversion of malonyl coenzyme A to the succinyl coenzyme A, a specialized enzyme is required, which is known as methyl malonyl coenzyme A mutase. This methyl malonyl coenzyme A mutase requires vitamin B12 for its normal function. So if we have deficiency of vitamin B12, then this methyl malonyl coenzyme A mutase cannot convert malonyl coenzyme A to succinyl coenzyme A. So we have deficiency of succinyl coenzyme A, and we have increased concentration of malonyl coenzyme A as well as propionyl coenzyme A. The increased concentration of propionyl coenzyme A is not good, because it can lead to demyelination of the myelin sheaths of the neurons, and neurological deficits appear. especially heavily myelinated neurons or fast conducting neurons are affected. In our body, there are mainly two reactions in which vitamin B12 is required. One is the conversion of malonyl coenzyme A to succinyl coenzyme A, and the second one is the conversion of homocysteine to methionine, which we have discussed previously. Whenever homocysteine is not converted into methionine, then we have increased concentration of homocysteine. This increased concentration of homocysteine causes damage to the endothelial cells. When there is damage to the endothelial cells, then there is activation of the platelets, and platelets stick to these endothelial cells, and it can result in uh, thrombi formation. So whenever there is deficiency of vitamin B12, then there may also be increased risk of atherosclerosis or increased chance of ischemic heart disease. Similarly, when there is a deficiency of vitamin B12, then there is decreased concentration of methionine, and this methionine is also required for normal functioning of the central nervous system, because this methionine converts into choline, and this choline is required for certain phospholipids, and it causes myelination. Whenever there is deficiency of methionine, there is deficiency of choline ultimately, and it results in demyelination, so neurological defects appear. In old age, many people develop echlorhydria because the parietal cells are not working properly, or there is some damage to the gastric glands of the stomach. So, whenever there is deficiency of HCl, we know that HCl is required for the conversion of pepsinogen into pepsin, which is the activated form, and it is responsible for the digestion of the animal proteins. And when there is no digestion of animal proteins, then vitamin B12 is not set free from animal proteins. So in this way, when there is echlorhydria due to any reason, then it can result in vitamin B12 deficiency. Similarly, when there is some defect in the pancreas, or there is acute pancreatitis, then protease enzyme cannot be produced. And when there is deficiency of protease enzyme, then R binder proteins are not digested away, and B12 cannot set free to bind with intrinsic factor. In this way, we can also develop deficiency of vitamin B12. One point should be kept in mind that macrocytosis is a condition which is very common, but vitamin B12 deficiency is not common at all. So, macrocytosis can occur with megaloblastosis or without megaloblastosis. Macrocytosis occurs with megaloblastosis whenever there is deficiency of vitamin B12 or folic acid. And there are different conditions in which macrocytosis occurs without megaloblastosis. For example, it may occur in case of chronic alcoholism. Basically, alcohol does not allow the conversion of polyglutamates to the monoglutamates. When polyglutamates attached to folic acid are not converted to monoglutamate, then folic acid cannot be absorbed from the gastrointestinal tract, and in this way folic acid deficiency occurs, and macrocytosis takes place. Similarly, macrocytosis also occurs in hypothyroidism. In hypothyroidism, what happens that the metabolism is very slow. When metabolism is very slow, then many large size red blood cells are released into the blood. Similarly, macrocytosis also occurs in cirrhosis, because in cirrhosis, folic acid cannot be released normally from its stores, and vitamin B12 is also not released normally from its stores. So, in cirrhosis of the liver, macrocytosis can occur. Macrocytosis also occur in hemolytic anemia. What happens that when there is hemolytic anemia, then there is increase in the synthesis of red blood cells, and many immature red blood cells are released in the blood. Similarly, when there is any damage to the bone marrow or bone marrow infiltration, or it gets irritated, then it boosts up and start producing large number of red blood cells, and many immature RBCs are released in the blood. There are many drugs which can also cause this disease, macrocytic megaloblastic anemia. What happens that there are many drugs which destroy some enzymes. For example, there are drugs known as methotrexate, which is an anti-cancer drug, or there is pyrimethamine, anti-malarial drug, or there are certain sulfur drugs, trimethoprim sulfamethoxazole, which is an antibiotic. These drugs destroy the enzyme dihydrofolate reductase. When dihydrofolate reductase enzyme is destroyed, then tetrahydrofolate cannot be formed from dihydrofolate, and eventually it results in folic acid deficiency inside the cells. Whenever a person is whenever there is deficiency of folic acid in a person, and there is also slight deficiency of vitamin B12, and we give the person folic acid but we do not give vitamin B12, then this folic acid can result in severe vitamin B12 deficiency, because we can see that inside the cell folic acid and vitamin B12 go hand in hand. So if we give a person extra amount of folic acid but we do not give vitamin B12, then vitamin B12 is taken from the myelin sheaths of the neurons, and it can eventually result in demyelination of the neurons. Okay, now what are the conditions in which the deficiency of vitamin B12 and deficiency of folic acid can take place? Okay, first of all, vitamin B12 deficiency. Vitamin B12 deficiency can take place when there is decrease in the intake of vitamin B12. For example, there may be inadequate vitamin B12 in the diet, or a person is strict vegetarian. So in these conditions, vitamin B12 deficiency can occur. Then there may be impaired absorption. Impaired absorption occurs whenever there is intrinsic factor deficiency or there is pernicious anemia. We will discuss pernicious anemia in our next video. Then there may be gastrectomy, or are certain other conditions. There are certain other malabsorption states. There may be ileal resection, parasitic infestation, or bacterial overgrowth. All these conditions can result in impaired absorption of vitamin B12 from the intestine. Okay, now next we have folic acid deficiency. Folic acid deficiency takes place whenever we have decreased intake of the folic acid. For example, we have inadequate folic acid in the diet, or we are taking inadequate green leafy vegetables or citrus fruits. So in these conditions, folic acid deficiency can occur. Folic acid deficiency can also occur in infants whose mothers are strict, are not taking normal Okay, folic acid deficiency if occur in pregnancy, then it can result in neural tube defects. So women who are of reproductive age should have high levels of folic acid in their blood. Then there may be sometimes impaired absorption. There are malabsorption states, or there are some other intestinal disease which may result in impaired absorption of the folic acid. Then there is increased loss of folic acid, which especially takes place when there is hemodialysis, which occurs in kidney failure, or there may be increased requirement of folic acid. For example, during pregnancy or during infancy, during cancer, or many other conditions in which there is increased hematopoiesis. Then there are certain drugs which whenever we take these drugs, for example, we have methotrexate or sulfur drugs, or phenytoin sodium, which is an anti-epileptic drug. These drugs also cause deficiency of folic acid because they inhibit certain enzymes. Methotrexate and sulfur drugs are responsible for the inhibition of dihydrofolate reductase enzyme, and phenytoin sodium, which is an anti-epileptic drug, also cause folic acid deficiency because it decreases the conversion of polyglutamates into the monoglutamates. Then here we have discussed that alcoholism results in folic acid deficiency. Basically, alcohol also acts in such a way that it inhibits the conversion of polyglutamates to monoglutamate. When polyglutamate is not converted to monoglutamates, then folic acid cannot be taken inside the cells in the jejunum, and folic acid deficiency can take place. So these are all the conditions in which the deficiency of vitamin B12 and deficiency of folic acid can occur. Now here we can see, this is a diagram which is showing some megaloblasts. Here we can see megaloblasts. These are large size red blood cells, and this is actually a WBC, and we can see that it is hexalobulated. Its nucleus is hexalobulated, which occurs in macrocytic megaloblastic anemia. This is diagram which is showing bone marrow, and inside the bone marrow we have precursor cells, that is we have proerythroblasts and erythroblasts, and we can see that these bone marrow cells are very large in size. These are very large in size and they have very large nucleus. This is immature nucleus. These are megaloblasts inside the bone marrow. Here this is a cell which is in which there is This is actually an orthochromatic cell in which there is formation of the this is a hemoglobinized cell in which there is hemoglobin is present, but we can see that its nucleus is not pycnotic. Its nucleus is not disappearing. So this is the picture of bone marrow in a person who is having megaloblastic macrocytic anemia. Okay, this is all for this video. Thank you.